IPPs, and I think comrades did not engage us on. ESCOM continuously tell us about renewable energy, but their own documents at ESCOM, it says that there must be net zero carbon emission by 2050. So what is this rush of wanting renewables now, while their own policy says 2050? So in terms of IPPs, I also have one last problem with them. When President Zuma was kicked out in 2018, 2018, immediately after that, IPPs were signed into the system. And what those IPPs said was that 57%, 57.8% will be South African owned, and the rest, I guess, it's foreign owned. And I still don't believe that. Who are these South Africans who are running these IPPs? And how can we actually find expression within that area of IPPs so that we are much more educated as we go to 2050 in terms of net zero? And what does that net zero mean? Does it mean by 2050 no coal? What does it actually mean? Thank you, comrades.
Thank you. Number 3. Was there number 3? Well, those are the only 3 hands. Okay, comrades. So for those who just joined us, we are continuing with the plenary discussion of yesterday. We have opened up the floor for engagements. The floor is still open. Are there any comrades who would like to make an input or have a comment on yesterday's presentations from the various different leaders? The floor is still open. Okay. So you'll be number 3. And any other hands on that side? Nobody? Okay, 4. So, Comrade Duke.
Is it on? Thank you so much, Chair. Good morning, comrades. Hope you had a good night's sleep. Yes, my name is Comrade Tokoma Samuela from Ward 58 in Tshwane. So, reflecting on yesterday's program, which I thought was very educational, very informative, and very exciting, I think we need that. One thing, let me just say that usually sometimes when you do our political classes or political education, we focus a lot on history, the history of politics, the history of activism, but we don't really get to, for example, the details about some of the issues facing us today. So I'm happy that we spend a lot of time on energy, on electricity, and even we're given like overview, historical context, and even some ideological conversations, which I'm sure we'll have more in future. And I'm very excited as well with some of the possible programs actually going forward, like the Energy Summit. It's going to be big. And I just want to make a suggestion. Can we make that summit not just be about us comrades? Get young people to that summit who are not even into politics. Get young people in that summit who have energy businesses or who want to be funded to get into the industry, who want to get into the industry of renewables. We spoke about the skills development. Get young people there. And if possible, can we get a representative from the Department of Energy there? Can we get a representative from the Department of even public enterprises there? So, and it will also, there's another debate which we didn't get into yesterday about the relationship between the Office of the Minister of Electricity, the Minister of Energy, and the Minister of Public Enterprises. I know when the appointment was made, that was one of the big debate. The roles, why do we need a Minister of Electricity? What is the difference between the role of the Minister of Energy and Electricity? What about the Minister of Public Enterprises now? So so that we get into those key issues, because those are some of the conversations that are happening around the country. And I'm also happy as well that we, the platform was given to even do criticism of our own politics, our own behavior towards each other. Whether it's the leadership in national or even from branch level, So I'm happy we allowed the platform for that, self-criticism. We cannot move forward if we can't criticize ourselves. So, and it's something which, because in the ANC in the past 10 years, it's become difficult to criticize the organization at that level where, like, You made that decision. Why? Why are you fighting? Why is the president and SG fighting? Those kinds of conversations which can tend to be uncomfortable. So I'm happy that the Youth League allows those conversations. Yes, obviously we criticize, but also we'll also show respect to the officers, which is very important. Disrespect doesn't equal to radicalism. It's not militancy, it's disrespect. It's ill-discipline. And even as well, let me just mention something as well. Some of the events that happened yesterday, when I know, for example, sometimes in public meetings where you can stand up and say, I don't want that, and you want to show that, yeah, you are revolutionary. You don't play with me. I can, but sometimes, we must differentiate platforms as young people. There are platforms where you can stand up and do that, ne? There are platforms where you can literally throw like big words, especially if you're talking to people or scholars. You mentioned those big words. Then there are platforms where you have to speak the language of a community member. There are platforms where you sit down and engage. They give you a mic, you want to talk, you want to raise issue. Sit down, wait for your turn, and then you talk. These are the different platforms that we must learn as young people. So for me, that's what I take away from yesterday, and let's just not end there, guys. Let's let the conversations continue, even be beyond the political school. Let's create ourselves those platforms to engage, to learn, to have knowledge. I believe, as I end, the Youth League members will be in a better space, actually, amongst young people in the country, to engage on energy properly. So let's take advantage of the opportunity. Let's control the narrative, and let us be the ones to teach and educate our fellow young people about energy, just energy transition, and the way forward in our country. Thank you.
Thanks, Comrade Tuku. Comrade Ancyl.
No, thanks, Comrade Bess. Just three things. The crisis in our municipalities. I think the ANC Youth League ought to have a special focus on municipalities. I say this because yesterday we were given a history of the first disbandment up until to where we are. The ANC Youth League has always spoken about 40%. The ANC Youth League has always spoken about youth set-asides. The ANC Youth League has always spoken about the capturing of youth offices in municipalities. But what you find on the ground is that there is a 55-year-old who has been in the youth office for some time, but because of lack of movement from the ANC Youth League, those people are still in those offices, therefore hindering and tampering with the youth development, because there is no 55-year-old who would be passionate about their job whilst dealing with young people. Case in point is Umsunduzi municipality. There is an old lady there who has been there since the establishment of that office. It means that then we ought to have structures that are able to check government structures to see that they comply, because the UN Declaration on Youth says that a young person is between the ages of 14 and 35. So a 55-year-old, by law, should not be allowed to occupy such offices. The ANC introduces a policy to say, look, before we deploy to anyone to be a mayor, a speaker, or anyone in the Troika or ESCO, they ought to go through a rigorous interview process. But what you find in terms of the final deployment after interviews have been done is a total opposite of what the ANC is trying to prevent. The ANC says it wants you to be skilled. But if you look at the quality of deployments in municipalities, is that it's people without matric, people who are 63 years old and above are occupying higher positions. It hinders youth development. You see, we have the NYDA, and we must compare the leadership of the NYDA, the current and the previous. The previous leadership of the NYDA was very much active under the leadership of Comrade Tso, Joy, PV. We could see that really there is serious movement. The NYTT ought to call in employees of the NYDA, because the plans that were there before of having provincial and district offices, there was supposed to be a rollout when the term ended. Where are we in terms of the rollout, in terms of those district and provincial offices that we're going to service young people closer to them? instead of being able to have communication with the national office. There was supposed to be youth offices, and there was a plan and strategy to roll out that. So we want to ask our employees, where is that? And lastly, on the electoral decline and what it means. Simple, comrades. The electoral declines means that we have lost social and cultural hegemony in society. You see, there's no academic, there's no academic terms or etiquette that we can use that when we go to the polls and we are not getting what we desire. It means that we must pick ourselves on the ground. We must be where the people are in order to gain society's trust back. And also we must be careful of saying that the ANC in government and the ANC out of government. The ANC must be able to continue its operations outside government. Case in point is that probably in 2006, the ANC was in charge of Stellenbosch municipality. The ANC is not in charge of Stellenbosch municipality anymore. It looks like it will not be in charge for many, many more years. But the ANC in Stellenbosch, Comrade Bess, where you come from, must be able to be active, whether it's in government or it's not in government. That is all. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Comrade Zola. Are there any more rounds of hands in the plenary? Okay. I'm going to take the last round, and then we're going to move on to the next part of the program. So 1, 2. Okay, thanks. Okay, the last hand, 3. Just quickly introduce yourself.
My name is Katleho from Nakamudur Mulema, Northwest. I want to make a submission on the municipalities or local government in general. I think the campaign that was done by Mochapalong was great, but the Youth League now it's not holding the candidate they pushed in accountable or monitoring their performance. Because I'm worried that if those youth that were pushed in by Youth League failed to deliver accordingly, the next coming candidate will have the presidency that when you go there, you don't deliver. So my submission is that from NYTT should try to focus on monitoring and evaluating those councillors that are being pushed to be mayors and speakers and the MMC in the municipality. 2, the municipality is very complex operational level in terms of when you go in as a councillor. It's not as simple as you are a councillor, therefore you will deliver 1, 2, 3 as you think. It's the highly legislated. And you found that we have pushed in young people there to be mayors through Mochapalong, but they don't do according what the legislation of local government is doing. We had incident where we found the mayor extending contracts of service providers. And then we found the mayor signing reports that were supposed to sign by accounting officers. And 2, we have pushed politicians as councillors, but we have left out the issue that the young people must also occupy director positions and the municipal manager and city managers positions in the same municipality, so that at least they should be level of generation understanding each other in those municipalities. Now at the situation in the municipality, you'll find you have a mayor from the Youth League and the MM is almost 59. They are contesting each other. This one wants to do this. The other administrator is not going according to the plans of this. So as the Youth League, we must see how are we going to support and evaluate and monitor the young people who are being deployed in these municipalities as councillors and mayors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mandla.
Wait.
Yes, I'm from Omasiya from Zone 15, Ward 112. Mine is very short. I'll firstly touch on the 5 R's. It's re. Meaning that it's not something new, it's something that already exists. So looking into that, as youth, we sometimes tend to stress too much into wanting to implement something new. New ideas, new this, new that. Forgetting that the main issue and the main problem is accountability. What are we doing, or what are our plans to actually counter for all the ideas that have already been put on the table? The fees must fall, data must fall, new free pads compared to the condoms. What are the strategic accountability measures that are we putting in place in order to make sure that the already new ideas that the youth have come up with are being met? And then the second one, this has to touch with the minister. I mean, we were all celebrating yesterday that, no, it was a beautiful speech. We all enjoyed it. But then my take is that we've been hearing beautiful speeches. And most of it, I'm young, I'm into certain industries. The only thing that I heard from the minister regarding the youth was the TVET one, whereby it will actually touch on the installation training. I mean, that industry is very big. What about the youth that are into the very same business? What measures or what securities are they putting? What percentages into the profits of investments are they putting for the youth? And then lastly, since I'm still in the industry's name, I'll give an example with the construction industry. The construction industry has GBs, like with the CIDB. 1 GB, you know, when you are young, you'll start at 1 GB, 2 GB. For someone like me, who is in a manufacturing company, pharmaceutical, owning my small space, production, yana, what is the path of growth for a young person like me? There's no path of growth. And I'm sure it's not only the pharmaceutical industry that does not have a clear path of growth, that you know that when you move from 1 GB, you get this certain of work, you move to 2, you move to 3, you move to 4. That's why also on the pharmaceutical industry, we are colonized. It's very difficult for a young person in the pharmaceutical industry. I'll speak to the pharmaceutical industry as a reference because I know that very much and I'm into that. But then I'm sure even other industries don't have a clear path. So as the youth, we should actually have our own guidelines to say, if you're in this industry, this is your path, like the CIDB. You know, when you are here, you start from here and move to this place, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. No, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the last speaker.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. My name is Comrade Themba Julius Ntuli. I'm from Mpumalanga, Nkangala region. First and foremost, I will appreciate the political school organized by the NYT and also appreciate the chair, Comrade Precious. But also submit our disappointments from the leadership of the NYT, not NYTA, NYTT, for not taking their own program serious. Yeah. I think that first I will engage the comments or inputs of the NYTT convener, Comrade Nongema, on the responses that she gave on what has transpired the past few days. I think that the leadership must not blow their own horns, and I think that the leadership must not be defensive on their wrongdoings in the organization. A simple apology and simple showing of remorse, I think that it will be something that we must expect, or something that we should have seen yesterday as she was there on the stage. And the engagement on the Comrade Spud, maybe you will submit leadership. As I'm from Kangara, Mpumalanga, the region that has coal, it's rich in terms of coal, is that what are they doing about the recently decommissioned power station. It's a Komati power station in Middelburg. We have heard that that power stations had a capacity of employing people close to 1,200. Now they've reduced as far as their employment, they are 400. What are they doing in terms of assisting our people not to lose their jobs in a process of moving to just a transition? Also the engagements of Usesi Ungwenya about the campaigns and the voter apart, more especially young people, they are not voting. I think that we must go back to our basis. And our task there too, as the ANC Youth League, is to advocate the interest of young people and rally them behind the banner of the ANC. But I think the fundamental important task is the interest of young people. Once you win that task, the second task is automatic. Now, the question may arise of saying, what is the interest of young people? Young people want to live in harmony. Young people want to have shelter, running water, proper electricity, and proper infrastructure. That's the interest of young people. Young people want to be involved in a mainstream of economy. So in a process of campaigning to these young people, one leader yesterday has said that in our campaign strategy, we must be responsive to the interest of young people. Be responsive how? We must use also the agents that is here. Same figure, Comrade Tulas, Lago NYTA. I think that previous, not taking nothing away from the leadership that is leading NYTA now, but the NYTA previously, they had mechanism to show their work. They had mechanism to communicate with their own constituency on what they are doing for young people. I think that thing has assisted us. And other structure of which that we are overlooking it is the structure of SAIC, South African Youth Council. I think that structure is a structure of the ANC Youth League. It was strategically established in order to enter to the corners whereby the ANC Youth League can enter. Because of one, I'm from Kangala. We're under, mines in Kangala, they are close to 54. But myself as a regional secretary, I can't go there and say, well, the ANC Youth League want to engage you when a CEO, want to engage you when a project manager. The cadre will answer you simple that we are not speaking to political parties. But if we are going to have a structure, an active structure, of which is a youth council, those comrades, they are recognized in public sector. Those comrades, they are recognized in council, moving to what other comrades they have said, what must happen in local governance. As the ANC Youth League, there's no way that as the ANC Youth League, you will go and attend the caucus of council and address the caucus of council, speaking to the issues of young people. But South African Youth Council has a voice in ITPs, has a voice on what other projects could go to young people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, comrades. I think that was the last speaker. Thank you so much, all comrades, for your inputs. We're now going to be calling on the National Vice Chairperson for Gender and Development from the Revolutionary National Youth League of Liberia, Comrade Imiema, to give us a message of support. Up to you. Comrades, can you please assist on a song? Comrades, can you please call her up in a song? Our comrade's still sleeping.
Thank you, comrade. Amanda, 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 Aluta. President of the ANC South Africa and the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency President Ramaphosa, National Convener of the ANC Youth League, Comrade Nonsiba Mahali, National Coordinator of the ANC Youth League, Comrade Joa Mamela, National Fundraiser of the ANC Youth League, Comrade Tutuke Zuma, Chairpersons of the ANC Youth League Political Affairs, Political Education Department, Comrade Precious Benda, and Chairperson of the ANC Youth League International Relations, Comrade Kulkani Susanna. Once again, say thank you. My name is Miss Jemima Comrade Adielo Tishato Dasen, National Vice Chair for Gender and Development, Revolutionary National Youth League of the Mighty Coalition for Democratic Change, by extension, the Coalition for Democratic Change. Comrades, I was called here to give you guys a message of support. But as I was listening carefully, and the comrades were raising very serious issues. Before I go in, I would like to extend my greetings. The chairman, the national chairman of the Congress for Democratic Change, Honorable Malubake Molu, and the National Youth League Chair, Honorable Emmanuel Moluba Agostino Nito Johnson, and all of the Secretary General of the CDC Liberia, extend their profound greetings, blessings, and best wishes to the ANC Youth League today. Comrades, I'm here to give a message of support. And I would like to start by a story. In Liberia, the common name for every sedition, the ruling party, is stupidation. I say, we are noted to be stupid. If you go all on social media, if you Google us, we are noted to be stupid. The reason we are noted to be stupid is because we, sedition, have come to the realization that there is no political institution, there is no organization, there is no movement, or there is no home that is problem-free. But we, sedition, we have a common slogan that says, the party is never wrong and the party remains supreme. When we say the party remains supreme, if you are the chairperson of this committee, no matter what you do here, outside to the press, to the general public, it's not wrong. We are going to defend it with our last breath. But if we come inside, you can rest assured it's another game. And I'm sharing this with us because the ANC Youth League that Jemima admired from high school is not the ANC Youth League that I see today. The ANC Youth League that I dedicated my time reading 3-4 hours on every week. It's not the ANC Youth League that I see today. The ANC South Africa, that when I was in high school, I had my name, Winnie Mandela, at the back of my T-shirt. That's not the ANC that I see today. When I look around, I see a lukewarm ANC. Not hot, not cold. This is my third time in South Africa. The first time I was in South Africa, the EFF have just begun their political reverie. But the second time when I was in South Africa, I saw that they grew in strength. That is both on the social media and both with domestic politics. And I'm mentioning this today to remind the ANC Youth League that it is because of you the first law of thermodynamics was made. And I would say energy is always conserved. It cannot be created or destroyed. The ANC is a firebrand revolutionary party. The ANC must regain her stronghold. The ANC Youth League must go back for the children in high school. If you cannot get those 20, 25, 30 years, ANC Youth League, you need to derive a strategy to go back for the kids who are 15, 16 now. So by the time they reach 18, they are conscious enough to know that this is their movement. And I'm saying this to you today because no matter what you do here, if the ANC go all of power, directly or indirectly, you are going to get affected. As long as the ANC remains in power, there is a hope. One day, that Sister Precious could be the Minister of Energy. And then all of the ideas we are coming up with for the energy sector, she could channel it and change the energy sector. I'm sharing this with you because in politics is normal. Politics is normal. In Liberia, we have 22 years old who are ministers. We have 25 years old who are ministers. We have people who have one petal for BSc who are ministers. And the reason we have these people were because the CDC, the youth league that I am from, even if you were, today is your birthday, and you never had anything to celebrate, rest assured you will wake up to at least 100 persons at your door waiting to celebrate you. That's why they call us stupid. But we don't care. Because at the end of the day, we know that even the institution they are in also have challenges. They also have struggles. Even the twins that can be born to the same mother 1 minute or few seconds apart, they have their own challenges. And I'm sharing this because all of the documentation we are putting here together as a team, they can be taken seriously or they cannot be taken seriously. Theories are different from practical. Your leaders will always remain your leaders. They're never wrong. Never wrong. Also, but inside battle of the strongest shall survive. Once there is a communication officer that carries the logo, CDC, even if that communication says every CDC won't be eating for the next 2 weeks, we will go and defend it. We will go and defend it with our last breath. Comrades, the ANC needs to go back to being the powerhouse that every young person admires. I've had the opportunity in my lifetime to meet at least 4 persons from each African country, all of the 54 African countries. And the only political party I know that is so popular among Africans all around. You can go to Madagascar, you can go to Seychelles. The only political party I know in Africa that you will meet at least one person that knows something is the ANC. And if the ANC, but if you go on Twitter nowadays, you go on social media, you will notice that the ANC is gradually being buried. The ANC is gradually being buried by propaganda. And I know some of us have our personal disenchantment because we make recommendations to our leaders over and over, and our leaders ignore them. So at the end of the day, we don't have the face. We don't want to go on social media to be able to defend it. But if you sit down, let the ANC slip all of power. I heard somebody mentioning the ANC also power. In CDC, we say, if the CDC would die, not in my generation, never mention the word the ANC also power. Do you know what level of failure you are setting yourself up for? You don't even dream about it. That means you're getting lukewarm. How are you the ANC that fought apartheid? The ANC that fought colonialism? You mean the ANC that fought imperialism? The ANC of Steve Biko? You mean the ANC of Mama Winnie? The ANC that Nelson Mandela spent 21 years away from his steering for? And you come, you sit down in a serious gathering with serious youth leader, and you say the ANC also power. That is an abomination. Complete abomination. So you're saying the young men and women in Soweto die for free? Are we saying the blood that was shed in Soweto should go away? Are we saying Hector Peterson deprived his family of all the greatness, die early for the ANC to be also power? We need to rethink our decision. All of the policies, all of the framework, they are good. But comrades, if the national leadership will take you serious, you need to command forces. You need to command forces. And I'll tell you, as somebody who will follow the ANC politics for the last 8 years, one advantage Malema had, he commanded forces. All of the framework you are doing here, if the Minister of Energy refuses to implement one, you should have at least 500 men who are ANC partisans. You cannot let those boys, you cannot let people like Mamani, the DA, you cannot let these people take away propaganda, comrades. You cannot let them take propaganda. There is a current training issues. The former justice, the chief of justice in Liberia, her niece, the niece died. It's a serious issue. And the former Truth and Reconciliation Committee boss accused our party secretary general of killing. You know what we did at CDC? Go on the social media. The next day, the CDC took the lead. We put over 2,000 persons in the street. Yeah, okay. 2,000 persons in the street to take the propaganda. Comrades, my time is up. Command forces. Command forces. If you cannot get those in 20, 25, 28, go for those who are 16. By the time the next election, they will be 18 and ideologically inclined. Nevertheless, do not be lukewarm. Hector Peterson did not die for that. Families did not share blood for lukewarm ANC. If the ANC must die, not in this generation, not as long as we live. May the spirit of Pan-Africanism continue to unite us together forever and ever.
Mandla. Away, two. Roar, young lions, roar. Roar, young lions, roar. Thank you very much for that very honest reality of where we are now. And I have no doubt that in this process, as we're rebuilding, reviving, and renewing, and reimagining the ANC Youth League to economic freedom, that we will get better. I am now going to hand over to Karabo, who is going to lead us in the great debate. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Braza. Mandla, away too. Thank you very much, comrades. We are going to enter into what the NYTT conceptualized as the big debate. And really the motivation around it, and I think as one of our comrades said when they were giving a message of support, that you cannot win against the enemy, you cannot win against propaganda if you do not understand how your enemy thinks. And the intention of each debate is for us to be on the side of those that stand against us, so that we're able to think the way we think, so we can defeat the logic that is illogical. Now, we also brought this together because most of us yesterday, when we were listening to the Minister of Electricity, were clapping hands. And I can tell you that if comrades of the Youth League go to COP27 or COP28 now, you are going to lose the debate, because you are not thinking the way your detractors are thinking. You must stop wanting to hear the things that sound palatable. You must start being obsessed with knowing the truth and the untruths that are being told, so that, as that comrade was saying, you are able to be at the center of the battle of ideas, and you are able to ensure that you are in charge of narratives that take place in the country and the world over. So this particular debate, comrades, is about what is termed as BIG, or BIG, which is the basic income grant. There are two schools of thought on this particular topic. Now, the history of the basic income grant goes as far back as in Nelson Mandela's presidency, when he commissioned a commission that was led by Professor Taylor that spoke about what at the time they termed a fragmented social security system in South Africa, anchored on the disparities of the past and the fact that you've got a high level of inequality in South Africa. We've got one of the highest Gini coefficients in the whole entire world, meaning that the levels of income between the haves and the have-nots are exponentially high. But what does the basic income grant then mean for young people? And this is where we are in terms of the two contending thoughts. The first thought that is for the basic income grant says that you need to be able to ensure that there is redress, and that in order for you to fight for some level of equality, there needs to be an income that is given to all and sundry at a particular level. If you would have been listening to those that are going to the national shutdown, part of the demands are what was commissioned by President Nelson Mandela. When Comrade Vavi speaks about a basic income grant, it is our ideology as a people. It is our ideology as the ANC that came during the time of President Nelson Mandela. But because we are not focused in terms of reading literature around what people steal as certain ideas that we hold as a people, we end up leaving those ideas to fester in the public as if those ideas are not ours. But also the contending factor in this particular debate is, if we are a developmental state, is this not a concession that we have failed as a government of the people in terms of creating jobs, in terms of ensuring that young people are either in education or some form of training? Then we then say the solution is 350. Now, this is where we are as young people of the ANC, who must be able to ensure that we sharpen those contradictions. And this debate today that is going to be led by argument heads from the National Youth Task Team as well as those that are going to be from the PCPC is going to be fashioned in that manner. That from where we were to where we are today, do we really believe that the basic income grant is a solution for youth unemployment? Is it a solution for the high levels of unemployability of graduates? Are we saying we're going to give those young people that money in space of us creating jobs in the economy? So the argument heads, comrades, the NYTT is going to be led by Comrade Stella Mondlana, who's going to be supported by Comrade Precious. I'm not sure if Comrade Anela is here. I think I saw her. But those are going to be the argument heads that are saying that they do not believe that the basic income grant is the solution for those that are neither in employment, neither in education, nor in training. No. Let's please give a round of applause to Comrade Stella and Comrade Precious, who are going to be sharpening these contradictions. Oh, and Comrade Anela, who are going to be joining us. Comrades, they are going to be on my left. Team NYTT is against the basic income grant, and they are going to be depositing scientific evidence and arguments as to why they believe that as a developmental state, we must prioritize and invest in job creation and ensuring that there is access to education and training. The PEC, no, you are correctly positioned. The PEC and PCPC's comrades is going to be led by Comrade Lwandile Mtsolo, who are saying that the basic income grant is a solution in place of job creation, in place of accessing education. And we are being spicy and deliberate so that both teams can know that we have actually set them up against each other and we are plunging them into crisis. Because comrades, let's please calm down. Let's please calm down. All of us sitting here are going to be adjudicators. Now, in that adjudication, also comrades of the PCPC and PEC, please give them a round of applause as they come to the stage. All of us are going to be adjudicators. In that, comrades, we need facts, we need science, we need a logical flow in terms of the argument. We don't want sloganeering, we don't want Amandla Awetu. We want to hear scientific evidence that is based before us so that, comrades, please calm down, so that when we leave here, we're able to draft a position as young people of this country, whether we believe that a basic income grant is the solution to the problems that young people face in South Africa. This is how we're going to move, comrades. You are going to be timed. The opening arguments, we're going to start with those that are for. They are going to have 7 minutes to present their argument. Then from there, Comrade Stella, who is against, will have 7 minutes to present the opening arguments. From there, comrades, you can use 2 minutes, you can use 1 minute, but we're allocating you 7 minutes. From there, those that follow are going to further add on to the facts, both from for and against. Then after that, comrades, we're going to have strictly 10 minutes of asking questions. In that session, you are going to have a minute. We don't want a thesis that in 1997, this is what happened. We want you to say, the basic income grant is 350. Why do you say it's not enough? Full stop. We don't want an entire thesis so that we can be able to give our comrades an opportunity to gather their thoughts and respond to the questions that you would have answered. Comrades, at exactly 12:15, we would have ended with this debate. The sweepers would have closed the debate, and the adjudicators, being yourselves, are going to have 1 or 2 of you who will repeat the facts in favor or against those that have won today's argument. Ladies and gentlemen, Your time is going to start now. Let's calm down, comrades, so that we're able to listen to the arguments. We're going to start with comrades of the PEC. They are going to give us their leading arguments. Your 7 minutes, comrades, starts now.
Mandla, away too. Thank you, comrades. My name is Lwandi Lemtsol. Of course, we are not in a liberal debate, so we ought to use Amandla so that we get into the mood. In 1985, a group of white businessmen went to meet with the ANC. The meeting was led by President Kenneth Kaunda. The concern of those white business that were led by Anglo-American, the leader of them was Spicer, says that there should be a concentrated effort to create South Africa, which is going to be new. And the new South Africa involved all those that were oppressed and all those that were in big business. And part of the discussions that were there was about the social distress that has been caused by apartheid. Now it meant that the government that was coming, which would start in 1994, and those that were in the levers of power, economic power in South Africa, were concerned about the social status of all South Africans. Now the debate about South Africa being a developmental state or South Africa being a social welfare state. The ANC argued in 1985 that the ANC's policy speaks about development of South Africa, development of South African industries and business. But it also speaks further that those that could not afford housing, education, employment, the ANC would become a beacon of hope for them so that they could be able to be assisted. Oliver Tambo even makes a reference that it would be some sort of a new Switzerland, and the white South Africans were impressed. What does this mean in the current context of the basic income grant? The much debated and controversial social relief distress grant, which started in COVID-19, ought to be extended because the conditions and the devastation that has been done is a lot. Because if you study and look at the South African population, we have high levels of youth unemployment, which is a serious crisis in South Africa. We have something called Nytt, which means that a term used to describe young people who are not in employment, who are not in education, who are neither also in training. And what are the causes of Nytt? It's simple. It's the education system of South Africa. It's also the labor market. The labor market and the education system are not working together. We produce graduates, but the labor market does not produce employment. So what then do we do in the meantime as a tactic to save young people from the ravages of capitalism? Government has both a constitutional obligation, a political and moral commitment in ensuring that all South Africans have means to meet their basic needs. Now, comrade, the basic need is not a 24 of Corona, which costs 400 rand. The basic needs is shelter, food, and clothing. And the government ought to then contribute something in order for it to be effective. Deeply rooted structural challenges that are presented are caused by, of course, poverty, inequality, and unemployment. And that is rooted within the apartheid spatial planning and the economic planning of the apartheid system. Section 27 of the Bill of Rights in the South African Constitution makes provision for social security, including appropriate social assistance. And therefore, that's why the government ought to support this proposal. The South African government must uphold the United Nations International Convention on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. The stats of 2021 says that 32% of unemployment is a crisis in South Africa. Although South Africa delivers social welfare for about 18 million people, there remains a larger group of people who face structural unemployment, and this should be dealt with. We are not saying that the basic social income grant will be some sort of employment, but it means as a tactic to ensure that there is some sort of grant that people receive in order to meet their daily needs. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We'll then hand over to the argument head against.
Thank you very much and good morning, comrades. The NYTT team believes that social grants, or rather basic income grants, are not a solution to our problems. We believe that social basic income grant is going to discourage development, it's going to discourage innovation, and it is a burden to the fiscal matrix of South Africa. We believe that this creates a culture of dependency on government, which is what we want to deal away from. And as a result, we must then advocate for a developmental state that is in actual fact in practice and not a lip service. How do we ensure that development becomes, it translates into actions? Let us use the EPWP program as an example. EPWP is a demonstration that young people are not looking for handouts because they are unhappy to sit in the streets and receive 1.5 every month. Young people want access to opportunities. Young people want employment. How can we then do this? Instead of advocating for freebies, we must call for an innovation hub where people can be accepted based on their skills and capabilities that go beyond what you receive in a classroom. And this is not going to be achieved by us as government saying that we should give people the basic income grant. We are not being developmental in mind if we continue to advocate for such. If we can fund basic income grants, it means that free education can be fully funded. So why are we not then basing and focusing our energy in ensuring that we advocate for free education to be fully funded? If we can talk about basic social grants, it means we can talk about SMMEs that on a daily basis, they are calling for the state to assist with equipment and resources for them to can become better entrepreneurs so that by extension, they create employment. We agree that we cannot sit in a corner and create employment. We need deliberate, innovative ideas that can be funded so that as a consequence, we have employment. Now, as I close and give to my members, I want to close with a quote that says, dependency is death to initiative, it is death to risk-taking, and it is death to entrepreneurship. And we must fight that with ideas that are going to translate into entrepreneurship in South Africa that is going to ensure that we have got companies, we have got industries that are able to produce the same way that China is able to produce goods and services and bring them to South Africa for consumption. Amandla.
Thank you very much, comrades. Comrades, let's settle down. Let's settle down. We are looking for facts. We are looking for science. We are looking for implementable solutions. At this point, comrades, we're going to be giving over to our 4 team that can either rebut or extend on the argument that was presented by their argument head. You will have 5 minutes.
Amandla. Awethu. Thank you, comrades. My name is Ponero Pokhwadi, the PEC member from Mpumalanga. Comrades, as a collective, we still believe that, and we do believe that the basic income grant is a solution to our problems, especially as young people. Maybe not a permanent solution, but it is it is a tool to deal with the issues that we face currently. Comrades, 43% of market active young people are unemployed. And this is caused by the fact that our educational system doesn't address the environment in which the people live in. Let's make a practical example. You have a TUT in Malahleni that doesn't address the economic status of Malahleni or doesn't address the employment status of Malahleni. You do not have proper mining courses in that institution, and of which Malahleni is a mining hub. Which then means, in the meantime, when we are still addressing the issue of unemployment vis-a-vis the educational system that we find ourselves in, what do our people do? What do our people eat? Hunger is a day-to-day problem. It is not something that waits 12 months for us to fix the issue. We need to have a now issue so that as we still fix our problems, people are eating. Our people are eating, our people are bathing, our people live in a dignified manner. Comrades, yeah. Oh, okay. Comrades, because our young people do not know what to do, they resort to drugs. That is a reality that we face on a day-to-day basis. Our people are sitting in corners, they have nothing to do but smoke drugs. And this is the problem that we have. If our people, and some of these people are people that are learned but are disgruntled in seeking jobs because they don't have the means they don't have the proper means to do those job seekings, such as little money to print CVs, such as little money to dress well when you go to interviews. So this basic income grant helps our people to seek jobs in a dignified manner. Comrades, thank you. I'd like to end my discussion there.
Thank you very much, comrades. We'll then hand over to team against to either rebut or further add facts. After this, comrades, we're going to be taking your questions.
Chair, so we're saying young people, Chair, through you, are doing drugs. We are not addressing how to fight and combat the abuse of drugs. We want to give them a grant so that they use it to buy the drugs. Because the issue here should be to deal with the social ills in the community. So you cannot speak about giving them a grant before you address that. But Chair, we also want to say the problem is inequality. Address the gap between the rich and the poor. Dismantle the pillars of capital and monopolies. Create opportunities and open the economy for young people. Do that and not make young people depend on a grant. What we are saying, Chair, in refusing this grant is that actually we are not speaking big around the economic participation into the key sectors of the economy. We want to reduce young people to crumbs, that young people must just get this grant that we want them to have. So we agree with our argument head that in fact, we must have other alternatives outside the grant of empowering young people. Comrade Anela has got a point to add quickly before our 5 minutes finishes. But we also think it's lazy and populist to think our problems start and end with us receiving a grant. It's very populist and lazy and patronizing, and as young people, we reject that. It's also unaffordable on the economy. Because the grant is taken, is taken, is taken. But if we give you opportunities where you are going to build, do a business, you are going to multiply, have profits, create employment opportunities, grow, expand, and so on. So those are the ones that we think as Team NYTT we must consider, not the lazy arguments, unfortunately, of the provinces.
Thank you. I think another thing that, that we all understand is the fact that what the basic income grant is trying to do, there is the fundamental reason why there needs to be that. It is the fact that we've got poverty. It is the fact that we've got issues in our education system. It is there for so many reasons. So the reason why we believe that it is actually not sustainable, it is because it is just something that is not sustainable. But more than anything, it is that the country has been running a large structural deficit for nearly 15 years. And the current spending is unaffordable because you are saying you are giving young people a particular, this amount of money, yet the cost of living is not matching the very same amount of money that you want to give it to them. So what is it that you are actually doing there? You are not doing any justice to young people because they are not going to afford anything. You are saying that households must be given money that is not going to even afford two people who are living under one roof, but yet we know we've got households of many people who are studying, we've got households of many people who have many young people in the same household, but yet the income grant that you are giving to them is not going to sustain all of those people who are living in those households. So we are actually rejecting it to say that you are introducing something that we won't be able to carry on with as a country. In fact, you are increasing a debt. You are introducing a serious debt for the entire country to say that you are going to constantly give people such a money instead of introducing job opportunities that are going to give them the comfort that any normal human being should live under. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Team National and Team Province. Comrades, at this point, we're going to be opening up for direct questions to what was presented by our argument heads and their team members. Those questions are going to be timed. They are going to be straight to the point. Can I please request that the person who's going to be assisting us with the mic, when I say cut, don't negotiate, take the mic, because we literally only have 1 minute. We don't want a thesis. We don't want theory. We want questions that are straightforward. And we only have 10 minutes, meaning that we can only take 10 hands. I'll start on this side. I will have Lerato and this gentleman in the front, as well as Mulaudi. So we're done. It's 3, 6, 9, and then, okay. We might have to take maybe 2 this side, so that, okay, it's fine. Then we've got 2 on this side. Can we have this comrade with the cap? We'll have the young lady with the ANC. So that's 2. So it's number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. We have Comrade Joy, who's number 5. We have a comrade there at the back. Yourself waving, you are number 6. We have number 7, who's standing up. No, wait. Comrades, calm down. Comrades. Mandla. Amandla. Comrades, if we are orderly and everybody sticks to their time limit and less, we'll see if we can't take more questions. We still have a bit of time because we're at 17 minutes to. So at 10 to, if comrades would have been orderly, we'll see if we can't take more hands. Then there's Comrade Langi, who's number 8. There's a comrade there, I can't see, the lights are blinding me, will be comrade number 9. Then you, my leader, you'll be number 10. Comrades, we are going to start with the first hand. Comrade Lerato, your 1 minute starts now.
Thank you. My name is Lerato Mwamohwa. I just wanted to ask to the PCP team, given that the current basic income grant for youth is 250. How are you logically relating it to, I mean, poverty, the poverty line? A person who's not living beyond the poverty line is 945 in South Africa, and a person will be getting 350. How are you going to make it make sense in solving that, and this is per person, make it make sense for that particular individual? Are you really covering up for the failures of government and bribing youth, or are you actually solving that particular problem because you are not actually satisfying the
Thank you,
the
Comrade
real
Lerato.
problem?
The next comrade, your question. Comrades, can we please come down, because if you are disturbing them, we'll not be able to hear their questions. Your 1 minute starts now.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Akide Ngumal. I think my question will be directed to the NYTT. Because of time, I won't try to explain much. Many of the things that are raising are necessarily long-term goals. What is the short-term and the middle strategy that you are going to use? Because the material condition says our people, particularly young people, are struggling there in Alex, in all over the place. So what will be the short-term necessarily as we are building towards the long-term goals?
Thank you very much. We have saved 2 seconds. The next speaker. Your 1 minute starts now.
Dumela, my name is Lisiko from Zone 15, the hosting zone. My question is for PCPT. I want to understand, remember that public policy...
To the province. Continue.
Oh, I want to understand that, remember, public policy was mandated to meet the interest of the youth. How sure are you that social grant is what we need as a youth? And when can those 350s be invested to career exhibitions for them to educate us about job opportunities, other than us choosing teaching as a course because of it has job demands? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have saved 10 seconds. It's not you. It's yourself.
Okay.
Yes. Your 1 minute starts now.
Straight to the point. It's Conway Duatu here. Thank you for the presentation from National. A quick question. You were proposing that we don't want to create a system of dependency for young people in this country. But in reality, we've already created a de facto system through the housing system where young people are qualifying for housing. Now, we are not saying that it is correct, but you are trying, basically we've created dependency. Young people have resorted into having kids just to meet the basic needs of food. It is an unfair argument, or rather to say that we are not creating dependency when there is a system that is not working and that is creating other perpetual problems for young people in society. So how do we meet basic needs right now for those who are hungry?
Thank you very much. Please shorten the thesis.
Thank you,
the next
Comrade
speaker.
Chair. My name is Toli Tembeli Hlengwenya. My question is directed to the NYTT team. You spoke at length about precious. You spoke at length about the innovation hubs and how they could be a solution for the structural inequalities. So there are already hubs that are in existence by the National Business Initiative, by the Youth Employment Service, by M Labs. But the problem with those hubs is that they're not self-sustaining. So now what other intervening interventions should young people have access to while they're waiting for the slow growth of the economy to actually speed up? Because remember, this is not a social experiment. Young people actually, while they wait for these opportunities, need to meet whatever needs they may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next comrade, Comrade Joy here in the front. The coordinator here in the front.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Comrade Joy Maimela. I have a question for the PCPC team. I want to understand, because every intervention that government comes up with must be empowering to the youth. How do you see this basic income grant empowering the youth economically, socially, and also ensuring that they get out of the cycle of poverty? Because in your presentation, I did not get that sense. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We have saved 30 seconds. The next question, comrades.
Thank you, Chairperson of the session. My name is Lesego Melesi from the Northern Cape. My questions are to the NYTT. The first one, Comrade Precious Banda, through you, Chair. What tools were used to measure the narrative that young people use the grants for drugs instead of their livelihoods? Number two, we say...
Comrades, you are using up her time. When you clap, her time diminishes. You've got 20 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Another thing is that we indeed must be intentional about development and creating opportunities. However, young people are living below the breadline in the immediate. So what is the tool that we can use to assist them right now while we're still waiting for the process? Thank you.
Thank you. The next question.
Thank you very much. My name is Beauty Blenis. I am an RSC member of the ANC Youth League and Francis Bart. My question is directed to the PCPC. My question is just around the financing and affordability of this grant, because we've also noted the inconsistencies of the COVID relief grant and how depressing it has been having to see both young people and old people queuing up at post offices. So my question is, will the financing of this grant come from the upward adjustment of VAT or the reallocation of the public expenditure? Thank you.
Thank you. The next questions from this side. Your 1 minute starts now.
My name is Nozipo Hlongwa. My question is directed to the NYTT. Is that what is the immediate solution that as we reject social grants, what is the immediate solution that we have put in place? And also secondly, in which society do you guys come from? If you guys are saying and supporting your arguments, because from where we come from, we do know and understand the impact of social grants. Thank you.
I apologize, as a chair, I must be impartial. I can't laugh. Comrade Tangi.
My question is directed to the NYTT as a reconfigured NYTT member. As a reconfigured NYTT member, I'm asking a question to the NYTT because I'm not there anymore. My question, Chair, is that why does the NYTT propagate for an extreme industrialization policy, which in its nature it's a macroeconomic policy which speaks to job creation, which will take us many years to do, and you don't speak to the immediate interventionist approach that as the NYTT, as young people who exist amongst young people in our communities, we know that social grants go a long way. There is no decent person who can go and queue at a post office for 350 if they did not need it. Now, if the South African government has done a research and has proven that it can afford 1.6 per person, considering the fact that yearly National Treasury sits with billions underspent funds that could be utilized and taken to that a big basic income grant, why does the NYTT wants to stop that immediate interventionist approach that we could utilize to win over young people?
Thank you, comrades. Can we please have the last, comrades, can we please have the last question? My leader, your minute starts now.
All right, thank you. Uzweli Baleni from KZN. My question is for the province. Just simple questions. Firstly, how much are you proposing? Number two, what's the qualifying criteria? Or are you only using age, or is there other further criteria? Number three, what are the fiscal implications of your proposal in terms of now the annual budget of the country? So those are just the three questions.
Thank you very much, comrades. Comrades, you've got 6 minutes each, so you will divide it amongst yourselves to respond to the questions that have been posed to all of you. We're going to start with our comrade who has not been given a chance to speak, and his 2 minutes will start now.
Greetings, comrades. Chairperson, thank you. Is that you? Comrades, thank you. It's my pleasure to represent provinces here. I'm Bongani Konyane, the Deputy Chair of the province of Limpopo. One, where will the money come from? And why are we not assisting young people in SMMEs and innovative programs? The NYTA has capacity to assist only 1,000 initiatives per year. Youth directorates, as a resolution of the Youth League in municipalities, have not yet been established. Youth directorates in provinces are babysitted in the office of the premier. Yet we are asking, why don't we use innovations? Why don't we use and fund businesses? Where will you get that capacity to fund those businesses? The state is babysitting our own people into making sure that they fail, fronting their children and their cousins. Yes. How Lerato would ask us on how the PIG would assist us and elevate youth from poverty. It has been proven for years and years that South Africa relies on grants. We can't dismiss that fact. It has been for years that we've been raised by grants. Why must we stop now? When is the time for you to benefit out of those grants? And then what criteria are we going to use to ensure that rightful beneficiaries are benefiting out of this program? The same criteria that we used during the SRT, we're going to use it even now. That is the same qualification criteria. And how much? Anything above 350 and to the max of 1.6. That's the how much part of it. Of course. How sure are we that PIG is the solution? We're very much sure. The issue of drugs. The issue of drugs. Young people are using drugs because of academic exclusion. Young people are using drugs because of unemployment. Young people are using drugs because they can't have that basic means to make ends meet at home. They are vulnerable to using drugs. And therefore, giving them that grant would, one, bridge the income gap, two, assist them to afford that food basket. It's a bit high, it's about 3,000 or plus. Now the poverty line, the African poverty line, it's at around 900 and something, which means about 59%. 59% of South Africans are able to live above that line. Now, the shortfall of that might be used, are going to be the beneficiaries of those grants. And then lastly, comrades, before I sit down, EPWP as an argument of the NYTT, CWP as an argument of the NYTT, can only afford to pay 1%, 2.3 per month. And it's called employment. 63 Rand per day on CWP is called employment. Yet we are saying we can afford through CWP. We can't raise children with CWP and EPWP. In fact, the rate of EPWP must be the rate of the basic income grant. And if the government is serious, 3.5 as a minimum wage must be implemented for those who are working on CWP and EPWP. I thank you, Comrade Karab. Come and add.
Mandla, wait to Comrade Lerato speaks about people that are living below the poverty line. But then she further then says that these people who are living below the poverty line must be left to die of poverty, because she says that we must now not be able to say that we assist them. We ought to assist people who are living behind the poverty line, who are living below $1 a day. And that should be the preoccupation of a caring government. A caring government must have strategies, of course, of saying that we must have massive employment, we must have industrialization, but also a progressive government must have tactics, short-term gains that will be able to assist our people to have food on their day-to-day lives. Comrade Lesego spoke about having career expos. Look, we don't need career expos to tell us that we are unemployed. we We can't then say our government must invest on career expos to tell us that we are unemployed. We have people here with 2 degrees, 3 degrees, PhD holders who are unemployed. So pumping in money to career expos would not be the solution for hunger. It would not be the solution for the affordability of data, for you to be able to access the internet, for you to be able to make applications. For that, you need hard cash, and that is what we are speaking about, that people must be given money in order to live. Joy, Comrade Joy, is now on a liberal offensive, forgetting that we need to be able to ensure that when people go to an interview, they must look as beautiful and pretty as Comrade Joy, and that needs money, so that they are representable and they give some sort of promise to the employer that they would be able to execute the tasks. But without money, all of that is impossible. How will it be funded? Our comrades, we have a fiscus. We are the 2nd largest economy in Africa. And then you ask ourselves, where will you get the money? We will get money from the state, from treasury. Thanks.
Thank you very much to Team Province. We're going to give the NYTT their 6 minutes to respond to the questions. Then from there, we will have closing remarks and then we will officially close the debate. NYTT, your 6 minutes starts now.
Hey, what an unpopular view. Chair, the questions, they are centered around what is to be done now. If you listen to all the speakers that have spoken. One, we are saying that youth employment services as launched by the president, they must then be expanded to youth entrepreneurship services. That is the first one. The second one is that we must also empower the NYDA to be able to reach more small businesses, because as things stand, there's a rough figure that is said that they can only be able to address close to 1,000 enterprises. There is a remark that says that National Treasury is returning money every year, and this comes particularly from municipalities. Now, I want to state facts on how that happens. There are projects that are registered in municipalities, and municipalities do not have the capacity to actually execute those projects. As a result, you can't use that money for anything else, you return it to National Treasury. Now, this shows you that the current people that we are having in our administration, they are not able to resolve our problems. Our roads infrastructure has collapsed. We are having a serious water crisis across the country, yet we are saying there's money specifically for such programs. That shows you that as the Youth League, there's an opportunity to agitate for young people to be absorbed by the system so that they can be able to resolve those problems. But how do we ensure that young people are absorbed when these senior manager positions, they are kept for people whom are said that we require 5 to 10 years experience from them? But what has this experience done for us? Because today we are sitting with institutions that have collapsed, yet they have been led by people that have got experience. So as a solution, we must scrap the experience beyond the entry-level position and allow young people to sign performance agreements with these institutions and say, you don't have the experience, but we're giving you 8 months, we'll reassess you. If we're not satisfied, we'll let you go. If you have delivered, we'll keep you in the system. Part of the things that we must be, okay, I think I forgot. Let me invite my team. I'll come with my closing remarks.
We ask a question. Where do we stay? Where do we live? We live in a society where young people are fighting hunger. And we are saying, don't just give them this small money. Give them opportunities. There's a buzzword that is being used as a buffer. of short term. How short is short term? Because you are going to pounce on the fiscus to continuously pay forever in the short term. We are saying, as immediate from now, go home and start cooperatives. Go home and do gardens, produce vegetables, fight hunger, put food on the table. Seeds are there, we can get seeds. Agriculture is giving seeds. There are many institutions where we can get opportunities for young people to plant, for young people to do projects in their communities. What we are refusing is young people sitting, waiting for this little amount that won't make such a difference. On the question of drugs, it's not us who said young people use the money for drugs. They said young people are unemployed and as a result they are doing drugs. Then we said, because they are doing drugs, you want to give them money to continuously buy the drugs now. Actually, you said they're unemployed, but they're doing drugs. Now you want to empower them with this man. So the issue is not to give them the money. The issue is that fight social ills and the use of drugs. However, comrades, in closing, Vuku Zenzele, uzoitola kanjani mawuhlele kone, stand up, fight for your future, claim your future. Don't sit and wait for a small amount that will only survive for a day. Thank you.
Okay, sure. I think there is actually, I don't think there is a magical solution to the enormous challenges of poverty. But I think we must just blatantly refuse to constantly end the permanent spending that government wants to introduce. But more than anything else, the basic income grant, whilst it is superficially appealing because of our immediate problems, but it would significantly undermine the quest for the faster growth and more employment by making our public finances even more unsustainable. Young people should be at least forcing government to say, rather redirect this money that you want to give it to give us things that are going to empower us so that we become independent young people. We go and we get employment so that we do not have to depend on you as government. That is where we need to really focus our energies as young people. That is the clarion call we should be making as young people, to say, rather give us things that are going to sustain us, not handouts, because the income grant does to me sound like just handouts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to be receiving the sweeping remarks from both teams. They have 2 minutes to convince you of their overarching arguments.
Thank you very much, Comrade Karabo. There's no much convincing needed. The argument is as weak. I don't know as what. They've failed to convince us for the whole 15 minutes. Now, comrades, the whole idea is the question of affordability. Is bridging that income gap and affordability gap in households. That's number one. The economy is trembling. The economy is failing to absorb graduates. What about now the worst case scenario of those grade 11, which make the highest margin in terms of youth unemployment? What about those ones? Because if the economy is failing to absorb those ones that are qualifying with expertise and skills, the non-skilled ones are a worst case scenario. Number two, how will this PIG distress the fiscus? It will not. We're under a government of bailouts. If the government is able to bail out companies every year, how will they not be able to afford this distress, this grant? The fiscus has capacity, more capacity. Increase the tax collection base. Super tax the rich. You can't tax Rupert the same way you are taxing that SME from Makado. What is the quotation? Increase that tax base so that you can have higher taxes and a higher tax base. What is dependency? They are talking about dependency. What is dependency? A grant is not a salary. We agree. We'll do those initiatives. We'll find employment. But in the meantime, we're going to take this grant. We're going to push for this grant. We're going to mobilize for this grant until such time government affords us an opportunity to build sustainable and strong businesses so that we can create society on our own and lead society correctly. Thank you very much.
Comrade Chair, the affirmative team concedes that the basic income grant is not sustainable. They made that concession themselves. And that is what this team has been trying to ensure that the House understands. We are saying expediency has never been a solution. As the ANC Youth League, we are a body of opinion in the ANC. And we have got a responsibility to agitate for programs that are developmental and sustainable in nature. We can't be lazy to think and say we want 350, 1,000 rand without putting programs on the table and saying what is it that we think can be expanded in order for us to resolve our challenges. We agree that we must fight poverty, we agree that we must fight inequality, and we agree that we must fight unemployment. And the only way to do this is by ensuring that we have got an economy that is thriving. And handouts are not a solution to the problems that we are having. The ANC Youth League must be able to work with young people to fight the social ills that we are having in the country. We can't say that teenage pregnancy is going to be defeated by saying that you have money, therefore don't get a sugar daddy, because a weave actually costs much more than what you are going to get from a social grant. So if our issues are social and they have got to be addressed, we must create moral regeneration programs that are going to appeal to young people to understand how we should lead our lives in order to be better people in society. Now, comrades, we are revolutionaries. We can't refuse to think. We can't be lazy to a point of saying all we want is handouts and therefore there's nothing else that we can propose because we want short-term solutions. We do not want to talk to the future because the Youth League is about building the future. It is not about succumbing to what the ANC wants to feed young people, which is handouts, and they will continue to control our politics by unleashing patronage, and will never be a youth league that is required for this generation. Amandla.
Thank you very much, comrades. We have reached the end of our debate. Let's please give a round of applause to both of our teams. Comrades, as I would have said that we have arrived at the end of our debate, as we would have said in the opening, the intention really was to agitate for young people to enter into the battle of ideas and start sharing ideas on various topics that are contemporary, that are also controversial. We're also going to employ on the NYTT that as we go into the Energy Summit, there must be a debate on coal and renewables, and these young people must be the ones that actually carry the debate on coal versus renewables, or whether we must have a mixed energy system. So with those few words, comrades, we're going to continue. There's not going to be a winner announcement, unfortunately. It is not obvious as to who has won, because like we would have said, comrades, we're looking for facts, we're looking for science. Now, if I say the NYTT has won, you are going to say I am biased because I am from the NYTT. And if I say provinces won, you will say, no, I feel sorry for them. So I'm literally in, we're not going to be voting. This is not a congress. But thank you very much, Program Director. Let's give a round of applause to all of our panelists, and I'm out. Thank you.
Amandla! short, guys. You know, it is what it is. I used to be upset about it, but it is what it is. Oh, okay. Yeah, we've made peace with being short. Comrades, excellent debate. This is what we want in the Youth League. You don't necessarily have to agree with each other, but we must do the research, we must challenge each other, we must be critical. And in fact, in this reconfigured NYTT, PCPCs, whatever, let's make a habit of it. And like I said, even if we do it online, we don't always have to meet like this, we don't necessarily always have budget, but let's choose different topics every few weeks, even if it's once a quarter, have a debate, involve different people, build the capacity of comrades. So many people look at MPs, MPLs, you know, when you debate in national parliament or in the legislature, there's not a lot of training you get. They kind of just throw you in the deep end. So let it be the Youth League that capacitates public representatives, capacitates young people, so that when you enter into those spaces, you're not like us, scrambling, trying to find things, figuring it out at the last minute. You're almost ready shaped as a public representative of the ANC. Comrades, we're now moving to a very nice part of our program as well. Yesterday, I know we were all dead. We did very well. Well done to you guys. It was a very long day. But right now, we're going to be dealing with the importance of arts and culture in mobilizing the youth. And I want to introduce a fellow NYTT member of ours, Comrade Tlangi Mokhale. She is also the national organizer of the NYTT. She's an ANC REC member in Tshwane. She's also a councillor in Tshwane. We don't want to say it's live. Maybe there are other wonderful things still to come, depending on when we elect the mayor there in Tshwane. But regardless of that, this is a comrade who has been in a multitude of youth structures, ranging in different parts of the PYA. Let's welcome her with a song.
Young right, I'm tall, you know. Man on top. Amandla. Amandla. Awethu. Zoyithola kanjani? Mawuhlale khoneni. Eita young lions eita. Roar young lions roar. Roar young lions roar. Aya roka mayanga yanga aya roka. Aya roka mayanga yanga aya roka. Kula ufa simba kula. Kula ufa simba kula. Thank you very much, comrades. I think I must give a special appreciation to Comrade Lady Chair, our fellow friend and sister and compatriot, who spoke profoundly about the liberation struggle of South Africa. It is quite encouraging that she's got a proper grasp of our own democratic dispensation in this country. Wamonora Grema, she knows what was happening in this country. The same must apply, and I think we must appreciate Comrade Commissar, Precious Princess Banda, and the subcommittee on political education for the sterling work that they've done. Some of us, you know, we're not people who want to debate a lot. In fact, sometimes we're insulted for that. Not because we're afraid of debates, we like them, but I just personally prefer to debate differently, you know, different methods. But I think this is quite stimulating, it's interesting, and I can see all of you are still here because all of you have been, you know, khala, what is the English word? You've been craving for these kind of platforms. And I think we must commend the subcommittee on political education. We want more of these things And as provinces, we must continue to contribute to the work that has been done. So I've been given a task, apparently, to come and speak briefly on the importance of, integrating and mobilizing young people in the arts and culture. As to why must we mobilize them, I think it's a discussion that we must take up together, and we agree to disagree on probably the approach and methods, and of course reflect on where we have missed the opportunity to actually properly mobilize these young people. So we need to give a bit of a historical context to why in the first place there's even a need for us to mobilize young people. And we need to demystify the notion that the arts and culture, even when they are doing reshuffles, you would have noticed that there will be great interest in all the portfolios, but when it's arts and culture, it's like it's a by the way portfolio that, because it needs to be filled, it has never really been taken serious. But if we were to characterize the struggle in the current epoch, we will realize that the arts and culture, together with sport, is a critical space that we need to tap into, especially as the ANC Youth League, in order to grasp the attention of the youth vote that we so desperately need as the ANC Youth League. Of course, those that have studied history will probably give a better tale of the historical context, the role that the arts and culture has played in ensuring that the liberation struggle in this country is realized, and that the pursuit of the national democratic revolution is in full swing through various artists like your Miriam Makeba, your Yuma Sekela, your Brenda Fasses of this world, of this country. And if you've read the history of Peter Mokaba, your former president of the Youth League, you will realize that they planned a proper strategy on how they're going to tap into the sports. And that's why when some of our comrades in the Youth League, when we have to mobilize young people through sport, we do tournaments. We speak social cohesion. They question their own programs that they must utilize to attract young people to come into the Youth League. They say, why do we run with soccer tournaments? Because you do not have a proper grasp of what your twin tasks are as the youth leaguer. Peter Mukaba and those that led with him tapped into the sports space, brought in your Dr. Kumalos. And I think Comrade President Balula gives this tale very well, because it was their leadership that went in to say, how do we bring in these comrades? To familiarize them. They do not even have to actively participate in the ANC. But even without them even knowing and realizing, they must be mouthpieces of the ANC. They must be ambassadors of the ANC. And that is what we need to do ourselves as the ANC Youth League. Because we have categorized and segregated our struggles. We've got youth in politics who are busy scratching each other there, lining and queuing up for the next big meal. You've got youth in the arts who are struggling to get funding so that they're able to do, showcase their skills. You've got youth in academia who are stuck. Some of them are going through serious mental issues because their families have spent millions, thousands and thousands of rands on them, on their education, but they can't be consumed in the market because there are no jobs for them. So everyone is preoccupied with their own struggles. Now, this discussion that we must have on how do we integrate youth in the arts should in fact say, how do we integrate young people, bring them together so that they speak in one voice? Like Che Guevara has said that any youth that speaks and acts as individuals do not deserve the future. It is criminal to act and move as individuals. You've got to think as a collective.
That is why in entire mankind of revolutions in this world, whether it is the Arab Spring, wherever, revolutions have been led by young people. There's never been old people. They led it when they were young. They just hold on to it. They want to die on the throne. But when they themselves led the revolution, they were young. And they were strategic on how they move. They were not preoccupied with the self. They understood and were able to analyze. They developed proper documents called your strategy and tactics, which, by the way, identifies yourselves as young people as a motive force, together with the working class. The working class which we are talking about today, which is young people in the arts, because they are suffering. They wake up every day. If they are actors, they go for setups. What do they call them, those things? They are recording those films. Others, AKA, they are in studios from morning. So they form part of the working class. Now what we need to do is to say, what lessons can we draw from the Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution that speaks about identity, that speaks about stamping out very problematic and opportunistic elements that are a danger to the existence of the ANC and by extension the ANC Youth League. You can't be a youth league that does not have character. Whether in form or orientation, what do we stand for? We like to quote the twin tasks of the ANC Youth League. Hey, we're an ANC Youth League that must champion interests of young people, that must mobilize young people behind the banner of the ANC. Which banner? Which policies? Because even in our own meetings, we are preoccupied with our own self-interest. You can't mobilize people behind something that they don't know. Something that they do not even understand. So what do we learn from the Cultural Revolution of Mao Zedong and the Communist Party of China? With its flaws, because it was not perfect. What do we learn about discipline, organizational discipline? What do we learn about moving as a collective? The generation of Julius Malema, whether we like them or not, moved as a collective. They brought us 7 cardinal pillars as a collective. The day they were disbanded, there has been individuals. The only language that young people speak about ever since the disbandment of Julius, it's task teams. That is why the easiest way to be relevant on social media today is to mention task team on your Facebook post, and your post can get more likes. We don't speak about issues that affect young people. And we're not saying we're exonerated ourselves as members of the NYTT. But we're saying as young people who are given a responsibility, we need to start honestly reflecting on our contributions, wittingly or unwittingly. Someone speaks about how Deng Xiaoping of the Communist Party, the man who turned around the fortunes of China, was victimized badly by Mao Zedong because of internal contradictions. But because the Chinese are disciplined, they understood the importance of protecting the image of the Communist Party. They introduced something called the 70-30 ratio. Even though he had personal and strong convictions about the poor leadership of Mao Zedong, when he came up as a president of the Communist Party, he introduced the 70-30 ratio and said Mao Zedong was, in most cases, 70% correct in the decisions that he took and 30% incorrect. He did that because he understood that in as much as he differed, did not agree with the leadership style of Mao Zedong, he needed to protect the image of the Communist Party of China. You cannot go and mobilize youth in the arts. When there's a program of the Youth League of going to mobilize the youth, some members of the Youth League post about programs of the Youth League and insult their own programs. And you think after that you'll go and mobilize them. All of us, comrades, must reflect honestly. And Comrade Joy likes to say this, that we cannot exonerate any one of us, including ourselves, NYTT members. And we must stop pointing fingers at elders. We cannot sing the elders' song forever without questioning our own actions as young people who are given the responsibility to lead the Youth League. Now, we need to also zoom in and speak about the seriousness with which we take the policies that exist around matters of the arts and culture. Nami, when Comrade Precious said, Comrade Oki, you are going to make a presentation on how we can bring young people of the arts closer to us. I went and I paged through the resolutions of the ANC myself. I can ask you the same questions. Do you know what the resolutions are that the ANC has adopted at Nazareth on how we can mobilize young people in the arts and culture? I can ask you now and say, raise your hands and tell me. And we're saying we're ready for 2024. Young people must go and vote for the ANC. Yet we've not diagnosed the problems that exist. Worse off, we did not even sit in those commissions. That commission was the rapporteur and the person who presented on the resolutions communicating with the country was Comrade Baleka Mbete, speaking on the arts and culture. And you know what was the emphasis on the resolutions? Heritage sites, repatriation funds. How much do we pay for mortals that are abroad? How do we bring back people that have died 1,000 years ago? Yes, it's good, it's part of the political conscientization. But the resolutions are so quiet on real matters of arts and culture. How do we propose proper funding for young people that are in the arts? How do we go and fight for artists whose COVID funds were stolen by the administration under Comrade Nytt Mteto? Not him, but the board or the commission that they had set up to say, take care of the COVID funds that must be given to young people who are in the arts who have suffered because of COVID. That money never got to the pockets of artists. Where was the ANC Youth League to ensure that battle is fought and that money is given back to its rightful place? Where was the Youth League? So we've got to start taking these issues serious. And it starts with us demanding that Comrade Joy, and I think we did it now with the policy conference. The ANC Youth League dominated those discussions. And we made sure that we plant comrades of the Youth League in those commissions. So we must then flood commissions that speaks on the arts, youth in the arts and culture. There's things of note. So as we do the diagnosis, comrades, and we consult our strategy and tactics documents, and were able to analyze and characterize our struggle currently. To say, we exist in a country where young people in their majority, if there's a value chain that is there, are right at the bottom. They're right at the bottom. That is why you can have a discussion on the basic income grant and both sides can bring in profound arguments. Because there's misalignment in terms of what must happen. Yes, you are correct. We need decent jobs. But how are you going to deal with 18.3 people who live beyond poverty lines? People who survive on 500 monthly. You can't create jobs for 18.3 people in the immediate. But they're correct. You need to create decent jobs. They are also correct. We need to have immediate interventionist approaches, which must then extend to the arts and culture. How do we get them on board? Now we're going into 2024 elections, comrades. Do these young people that we want, at times we utilize to go and vote? Because no matter how and why we appreciated AKA as an artist was that he formed part of the conscientized youth in the arts who understood that the revolution is an activity of young people. Despite how you might be unhappy with the ANC, it's a love letter. Despite how you might be unhappy about the ANC, it remains your responsibility to take the ANC to task. So our role, like the generation of Peter Mokaba, is to conscientize them, is to go and speak on their struggles, show them that we know what their struggles are and we're prepared to resolve them, bring them closer, and they become ambassadors of the ANC. They start speaking, and where they are not happy, like AKA, they ask uncomfortable questions. And they go and urge young people to go and vote for the ANC. They use their platforms to speak about what the Youth League has been doing to fight for their battles. Because right now we're underneath, comrades. You can't even step into that space of Twitter yourselves here. All of you are on Facebook, because Facebook, what the establishment has done, and those that have monopoly of the digital space. When we're friends, I'm friends with Stella, I'm always viewing things of Stella. It only gives me, it's Tabo was making me realize that thing. Facebook only shows you things that you like, people that you communicate with. The youth that does not like the ANC is not there on Facebook. Because you've got a customized Facebook profile. It only shows you things that you want to see. Go to Twitter, Chief. Go to Twitter there. You will realize that as the ANC Youth League were doing nothing. Absolutely nothing to tilt the status quo. And we think we're prepared for 2024. And our leaders of the ANC, because they are also driven sometimes by self-interest, they think by continuously disbanding structures of the ANC Youth League, they are providing a solution to our many problems. And some of you, because Lilena, you don't understand that you need to move as a collective. They say reconfiguration, already you are lining up yourselves. You don't realize that even yourself, you are going to be reconfigured. You are going to be reconfigured, even yourselves, when a new leader comes and they come with a new interest. We must speak honestly about self-interest and how it disturbs organizational growth in the ANC Youth League. Lerena, we lined up. We lined up. But until when are young people going to line up only for them to be chopped, and the next batch of young people that must be utilized for a particular cause are brought in, and so on and so on. So we must go out and mobilize these young people because we need them. Some of you call yourselves president of my 2K, but the 2Ks, when they see you, they can't even resonate with you. Because you are saying, Amandla, they don't resonate with you. Abakwazi, they don't identify with you. But the 2Ks in the Youth League and COSAS will resonate with you. But we are saying, let's go an extra mile, comrades. Let's go, and the simple, basic thing to do, let's understand their struggles. What are they crying about? Job opportunities. Actors get to be discriminated. They are chased. Like, there are no proper labor processes that are employed to ensure that disciplinary processes, people, if they're going to be expelled, proper processes are followed. Funding for upcoming artists. We must go and advocate for these kind of struggles. Then they will start talking about us. We are lucky, in fact, the ANC is lucky that young people in their majority have not been going to vote. And we must ask ourselves the question, if these young people were to go and vote, who are they going to vote for? Because people vote for something that they understand. And currently, like someone said, there is absence of a critical body of opinion in society, in our communities. There's the absence of the Youth League. Young people who must carry the struggles of their fellow peers in their communities. Your PYA structures are collapsing. They are fighting left, right, and center. It is only the YCL, which we must commend, maybe because there's absence of contest there. It's Mhlatlandlela. They are united. There is the collapse of the alliance. At some point, we must ask ourselves questions if these things are done deliberately so to interrupt the National Democratic Revolution course. They've come back now. They have said that they are reconfiguring themselves. They are going to contest. On hindsight, we say they maybe must contest because clearly we are in the era of coalition governments. We might need those comrades of the party to contest so that they come onto the table. So that we never fall for the trap of getting into bed with our ideological opponents in the form of the DA. In closing, comrades, we've got a task at hand. That task requires the unity of young people of the ANC Youth League. And unity must not be said when it's convenient to do so. I think the unity that we're speaking about is the unity that must be driven by the fact that we are going into a serious battle next year. It's on, comrades. We need to be on the same wavelength. We need to be able to go out and mobilize young people as a united force, as young people. Let's stop admonishing each other as young people of the mass democratic movement on social media and thinking that after we will go and convince ordinary young people who see us insulting each other every day. I am saying all of us. We've got a responsibility and a task to bring all these young people close so that we're able to bring them on board, so that we're able to close the gap that the EFF has taken You've got some lumpen mercenary there in the form of Ntlantalax, masquerading as a revolutionary, going into schools, threatening kids that must be rehabilitated properly, looking like some freestyled soldiers of the West. I'm saying because of the absence of the ANC Youth League, opportunists are seizing the moment and bringing in foreign things, projecting them as revolutionary actions. There's nothing revolutionary about going on. That is why even in arts and culture, we emphasize the issue of social cohesion. The xenophobic attacks on our African brothers is extremely uncalled for. We must be the generation that does away with what the scramble of Africa did in Africa. The borderless discussion and topic of Julius Malema must be spearheaded by the ANC Youth League. Not some chance takers. It's us who must lead the discussion to say we're Africans. As the Youth League, led by the former President Lembede, a Pan-Africanist at heart, I think issues of xenophobia are issues that must be close to our hearts, issues that we must spearhead, and we must close ranks, comrades, and say we cannot continue to be absent because we are preoccupied with our own internal fights when we are supposed to be out there mobilizing young people behind the banner of the ANC by giving them proper and showing them proper policy positions that we are willing to fight for. Thank you very much, comrades. Amandla, Riaya Dikhetong Riaya. Riaya Dikhetong Riaya. Thank you very much, Chair. My time is up.
Mandla, away two. Roar, Young Lions, roar. Roar, Young Lions, roar. Comrades, it still seems that people are sleeping. We are in a meeting of the Youth League. Please, can we have more energy than that? Thank you so much, Comrade Sangi, for the input. You have really left us with lots of food for thought. We'll now be moving on to our next speaker, which is Comrade Moaludi. They are a writer, an activist, and a former national spokesperson of the YCLA. They are also an author of the book called Meditations of the Gutter, and which are short stories. There's more, which are short stories and essays and poems, which was published in 2021. They are also an author of another book called Socialism Nomuntu Omusha, which have 2 volumes. It's called Taking the Truth of the Revolution. And of course, they are a member of the Political Education Subcommittee. Over to you.
Amandla. Amandla. Yeah, it's fine. Kaitwa. Ubaisa bamaputwa kundiwa. Amandla. Thank you, comrades. Let me just say all protocols observed so that I don't waste time. Mine is very simple, comrades. I've been given a mandate, a very simple one, Comrade Joy, to come and present the declaration of the National Political School of the ANC Youth League. So it's a very simple task. Ne? And that is what I'm here to do. The ANC Youth League National Political School Declaration. The ANC Youth League held its National Political School from the 17th to the 18th of March 2023 in Gauteng Province. What is the order now? Okay. Okay, no, it's fine. There is no crisis. It's not even an order, it's an addition. It's a process that we collectively own. So I was anxious when someone said an order. It's a process that we can rectify. No, comrade, Isandla, Isandla, come, please. Yeah, Isandla, come. There's no problem here. We're going to solve it. I think you will consider it for contributions.
Thank you so much for that addition. It is welcomed. Yes, we are a school. We're learning and unlearning. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to open up a round, and unfortunately, I'm going to take only 3 hands. You have 3 minutes to speak, comrades, so please be mindful. I'm going to start on this side of the room. Just, sorry, comrades, please work with me, not against me. All right, so we're starting there. Right. Comrades, I'm going to note you. I'm starting that side. Right. Comrade Turk, you'll be number 1. You'll be number 2. I said 3 hands, but we'll move. You'll be number 3. You'll be number 4, 5, 6, Comrade Anela, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's it. All right. But now, since we have more hands, unfortunately, you'll have less time. You have 1.5 minutes. Starting number 1.
Thank you, Comrade Chair, for that addition. On the issue of culture, as there is culture is about relationships, traditions, and social norms. Young people talk about lobola, they talk about dating patterns, they talk about the trending topics. Where is the Youth League in that? Can we open maybe social media spaces every week talking about trending topics? And our view as the Youth League and in a way to conscientize young people. On arts, there are young people doing qualifications on arts, but they don't get jobs. It's difficult to get into the industry of acting as a young person if you don't have connections. The Youth League must fix that. There's no way in our own government the Youth League need to be connected in order to be actors. Let's correct that. Sports. Let's fix our sports facilities. Many schools, the facilities are broken, and there's crime in our communities. Young people are not kept busy, and that's why we must fix that. Thank you to the national organizer for also doing sports tournaments, which you've been mocked by some people, but that's a way of keeping young people busy. And I want to urge you, national organizer, can you personally, let's say in the next 5 years, push for this mobilization of youth in these sectors? Because otherwise, if we don't do this, we're going to lose young people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On time. Number 2.
Absheni, my name is Comrade Ntwanano from Ward 60 in Inner City. So I speak as a comrade and also as a creative artist. I have 3 questions to the speaker. Number 1, how do you see the arts as a tool for empowering young people and fostering social change in our communities? The second one, maybe this can also go to COSAS. How can our schools and community organization in South Africa incorporate in arts into their programs to engage young people and promote social change? The most fundamental question that I have is that what steps can the government and other stakeholders take to support the development of young artists in South Africa and create more opportunities for them and use their skills and creativity to make positive difference in their communities, and also allowing them to showcase their art in order for them to also get rewarded, because it's also about time that we shy away from having artists coming to do work, or now we're having people who are taking pictures, doing videography, and we're saying that showcase yourself, you're finding exposure, but they're not getting paid. Meanwhile, we forget that majority of these people, they're also trying to find ends meet. They're also trying to create employment for themselves, since we are suffering with the unemployment rate in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Number 3.
I'll try and be straight to the point. So I feel like sometimes as comrades, we are not being honest when it comes to the manner in which we are allocating and paying people in the arts. If someone is popular, meaning they had maybe a neoliberal fund their program, they became famous, and then next thing they value is 50,000 just to come and speak. A revolutionary will come, write a book, and comrades will say, we are going to give you 3,000. And so we really need to be honest in the way we are allocating funds to people in the arts, especially those who are pursuing the agenda of the African National Congress. The other one is to say that most of us are a product of the arts in our communities. And so a lazy way is to say, let us speak to those who are already famous. But let's go back into the schools. Let us try and re-politicize young people through the arts, short play festivals. This is something that the Youth League can do right now. It doesn't mean we are now, it's a big funded program. Identify people who can do debates in schools. This is a way of re-conscientizing young people through the arts so that they are not told by social media that this country is going astray and bona, they must go and do other things. So I'm just saying that there's an opportunity that we can be on board on. There are a lot of people in the space that are doing those things. Let us maybe collectively agree that we are going back into schools, we are going to do big debates in high schools, we are available to do those things. Let's go again, we spoke about social regeneration. Let us do arts and culture in schools. Even if it's 4 programs per school, then we move on. It's a road show. It's possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 4. Sorry? You're covered. All right. Thank you. Number 5. You're also covered. Okay. Then go.
But why would I be covered? My name is Lesotho Scott. Thank you, MC. I think in the spirit of refraining from taking our internal battles to social media, it should be noted that we have seen a disheartening inconsistency in our NYTT this previous week relating to what is fake and what is original in the statement. I think that on its own is a thing that if we are going to speak to portraying being organized and deserving of having confidence of the youth, we need to refrain from taking our battles to social media. We barely put a narrative to social media, but when we do, it is a narrative that we should not be trusted because amongst ourselves, we do not trust each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Number 6.
Yes. Thanks, Comrade Thanks. In your input, I think I must say that I appreciate the few things that you've made mention of. The issue of, because I think the reason why we've got the likes of Abontlanhla Lux now, it's because really it goes back to the absence of the ANC clique in the space. And there's a lot that translates to that, because even if you can check the voter turnout and the age of the young people that you are talking about, referring to me, of course, on the issue of Ama 2K, I'm saying, my friend, your comrade line, I'm saying, Comrade Tiny, that since we've identified the issue, because I think we've identified the issue, which is the absence of the ANC clique, but it does something in danger to the movement, not only to the ANC clique, because I'm trying to make you see how the Ama 2K have created a whole different and introduced a whole different new culture for themselves. And they are driving it themselves. They don't need the ANC clique to help them drive their own culture. But the absence of the ANC clique is not there to tap into that space, because the ANC clique's role in this case
You can't deny that Matuke are a new generation and they are the new voters for the ANC. Therefore, the ANC Youth
Comrade
League
Anela,
plays
please
I'm
wrap
going
up.
to summarize. They play a bigger role, the ANC Youth League plays a bigger role because it must bridge the gap that is between the ANC and the Amatuke. You don't expect the ANC to understand those young people, but the Youth League can play a role and understand them and bring those young people closer. What is then the strategy that the ANC Youth League has to bring those young people and do what is good for them so that they stick around the ANC Youth League? Because you need them and they are the new voters. The reason why you do not have the voter turnout
Please,
was
can
so
you wrap
low,
up?
it is because young people did not go and vote, and much more. It's those Matuke who are now new in universities. What is the strategy of the ANC Youth League that is going to bring and tell those young people to come and vote for the ANC Youth League? We want to hear that. Thanks.
Thank you. Number 7.
Thank you very much, Chair. My name is Moloko Clifford Mokwena, Dr. Rusi Mumpati, Deputy Chair. I'm not going to add on what the President has said. I think he was very clear when he was presenting. So mine is on the sport, I mean football. I mean, we have got an issue here, comrades, with football. PSL, to be exact. I mean, we're paying very expensive money go Super Sport to comrades to go and watch this shenanigan that is happening. I mean, this thing is a lie. It's a scam, comrades. I mean, we have got, actually today I should be Winnie Mandela here in Tembisa here, next to the clinic. There's UEFA Champions League football that is being played each and every weekend there. Well-organized tournaments of real football of our country. We have got a very serious crisis. And we have got a problem here, Comrade President, with this cadres who comes, who think they are entitled to come and lead this organization. I was looking at some post there of this other cadre, posting that is almost 15,000 away from home. And we are here in Galaga here trying to come and assist this African National Congress. And he's the member of this NYTT. So how can you say that they are going to come and demand to come and lead us in this organization? So now we need them. They are not here. They are almost 15,000 away from home. And comrades, for you to lead us, it must not, this thing of appointments must end. And the ANC Youth League, what is the statement, their position on the release of the NEC, that they are going to be reconfigured? They don't have a position, this NYTT.
Please, can you wrap up?
Organized. So we need you to come and lead us. The ANC cannot just give us a position and you don't have a position. And this thing of when you go to meetings and you take a decision, after you release a formal statement, the other one comes and says this is fake, the other one says this is true. It's out of order. That is why these elders are penetrating this organization. Thank you, comrade.
Thank you. Comrades, I just want to remind you, please can you respect the speaker? When someone is speaking, please can we listen to them? Number 9.
Thank you. Nozipo Hlongo from KZN, Moses Mabid. I think mine is not a question, but a comment that I didn't get from Comrade Clark is the fact that we need to shy away and run away from the narrative that arts and culture is all about fun. We need to also look at the aspect of business within the arts and culture. How do we turn arts and culture into a business, a proper business, more especially to young people who just do whatever that they do, the two aspects, talent and business, or turning your talent into business, because it is the very same thing that causes problems for us not understanding the business side of art and culture. I will make just an example of publishing, music publishing. That thing, most of the time, our creatives, they do not own their masters, which is a big problem, because to them, what is important is for them to just sing. But if you do not own your publication and your masters, you would have a serious problem, because in the end of the day, you would come back and cry, and then there's no even a legality around the ownership of masters. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Tulani Matlangu from Waterbeck, Mudemulle. This one is very close to my heart because I'm also in the music business. We manage a record label back at home. And the issue of distribution and all of these publishing rights, it's true. These guys are getting ripped off too much. And music is an economic driver as well. These people, they gig, they are performing artists, they need makeup artists, they need managers, they need PR with them. So they create employment within themselves. So we need to support music, and music also we need to use to mobilize society through music. It's been done from Bo Comrade, Bo Miriam Makeba, Bo Hugh Masikela, and with young people we can attract them with music in terms of being involved in this music scene, more especially Amapiano, which is a product, which is an export that we have in South Africa. It's something that we can export in South Africa. So we need to protect this thing, and then we need to give support to it because it can actually create more employment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The last speaker.
Not last. Amandla. Awethu. My name is Comrade Nytt from Ekurhuleni. Chair, I think one thing that we must emphasize in this house is that when we tend to come up with an idea or a program, we think all of us, we must focus on that thing. And this is where I'm going with this thing, on the presentation of Comrade Klangi. The basic unit of our people, it's a branch of an ANC youth league. In a branch of, I don't know if these things are still there, because people, how they launch branches previously, it's surprising. They sit in the house and say, we are chair, we are secretary, and all of that. However, my point here is that you elect the top 5, you have additional members. Where we grow up in COSAS, what we understood is that additional members must have portfolios. Now we have someone there who has a responsibility of sports, art and culture. The moment we have that, then says he structuralized this thing, and it's not just something that we speak about. And how we organize young people, all of these additional members in branches, they must be useful. This thing of having additional members in the branch, they're just there. They even forget that they're BC members. Because you have a branch secretary who does not even understand that you must give these people portfolios and they must do programs based on their portfolios. You do a tournament. When you do a tournament, you don't, because we speak about this thing, and you say you do a program, and you are only with your ANC youth league members, and you take pictures and say, hey, it was a success. It's nonsense.
Please, can you wrap up?
Yes. You get professional players. We did this in our zone there in Ekurhuleni. You get professional soccer players and netball players. You do what we call OR Tambo games. You don't have comrades, Ward Banbani, chairperson of Ward Banbani playing against each other. No, you bring young people. You go to a cup, you brand it in the logo of the ANC Youth League. That team, the moment it wins that cup, already there's conscious nyana. They have a cup of an ANC Youth League. They will not forget the name ANC Youth League. So we must really structure ourselves, but we must stop this thing of PCs being elected in kitchens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, comrades. I'm now going to call on Comrade Klangi to please respond. And please.
Leadership, are you suppressing me?
My apologies. The light is blinding.
Thank you very much. My name is Mfundo from Ekurhuleni region. Comrade organizer, thank you for the comprehensive input. I think, comrades, the resentment of comrades to some of these sports programs is the abuse of the sports programs, right? It's not necessarily the sports programs themselves, but the overutilization of the same mobilization strategy. And by the way, what Madonsela is saying here is true, that we play amongst ourselves. So I think the abuse, comrades. So we must not, it must not be our core alpha and omega program. I think that's number one. We must be very clear. Number two is that there must be strategic thinking in terms of how we're advancing these programs of sports, arts, and culture. To say, in the end, we must be able to include young people in our policy inputs when we're going to congresses. I'm speaking of ordinary citizens, so that they own the policies that would eventually come out of our congresses as the Youth League, and therefore they feel represented. When they see that the inputs that they would have made as an NPO, NGO, whatever civic organization, they reflect in the policies of the ANC Youth League, then they